This course is presented to you free of charge by TTJ Tech Services of www.ttjtech.biz and by Stir It Up of www.stiritup.com. And remember, stir is spelled with a U, not an I, so that's STURITUP.com. TTJ Tech Services and Stir It Up are pleased to offer this course to you to the glory of God and to the benefit of all those who listen.
We're ready to really get into things, but we do have to sort of tie up some loose ends from Wednesday when we were discussing the home screen. Before we do anything else, I want to talk to you about notifications. VoiceOver users, you should already know probably how to get into the notification center, and our non-VoiceOver users, same thing. You're going to swipe down from the top of the screen, but unlike swiping down for Control Center, you're going to keep going a little bit further and sort of pause, and it will bring up the notification center. Now, if you're a VoiceOver user, what you want to do is touch the top of the screen, and you'll hear the little blip sound, and you're going to actually swipe down to the third blip sound, so it's a little bit farther. And this brings up your notifications, and if you receive a notification and don't do anything with it, it automatically will go here to the notification center. But that's not the only place you can see your notifications, okay? So this place is sort of whenever I don't take action on a notification right away, and it's sort of relegated to the notification center for later use if I want to go back and see what notifications I got earlier. You know, right now, if I open my notification center, I can tell you it's showing me some playback controls. I got news 13 minutes ago. I got news 14 minutes ago. Let's see. Then I can clear notifications. Here's here's a calendar notification about an upcoming event. If I want to, I can swipe up with that with that notification. I can swipe up with one finger, and I can choose options like more or clear. More will give me additional context options, right? So, for example, if it's a reminder, it's important to understand this, okay? I'm going to stress this because a lot of people don't realize this. A lot of people just leave their notifications there in the notification center and do nothing with them, or maybe they clear them. They choose the clear option when they swipe up with one finger. You can do that. That will dismiss the notification, but I want you to understand that notifications are also actionable. What does it mean that a notification is actionable? Well, to say that a notification is actionable means that I can take other actions on that notification, and they're usually context aware. So to get these actions, you can swipe up with one finger as a VoiceOver user until you hear the word more, and you can double tap. Or I can also do that long press gesture. Remember what it is? It's a double tap and hold, or a triple tap. And I can get these actions, like, for example, with a reminder, I can mark it as complete, or I can snooze it for 1 hour. I can say, remind me in an hour, or mark as complete, whatever. So I'm not just dismissing the notification and not, doing nothing with it. I'm actually taking a relevant action on it. And a lot of notifications support actions. And this works not only in the notification center, this works when a notification first appears. Let's suppose that I'm using my iPad right now. I'm in Pages, or I'm in Mail, or I'm playing a game, or reading the news, or watching a movie, whatever. And all of a sudden I hear the sound, and it says that a notification is on my screen. What I can do is I can bring focus to it by touching it with one finger. It's going to be sort of in the upper middle of the iPad, maybe a little bit off to the right. I can touch that to actually land on the notification, and then I can swipe up or down with one finger, or long press, and I can get these same actions that I have here in Notification Center. So it's very important. If you swipe up or down with one finger, you have more, which is where you get those actions. You have clear, which of course clears and dismisses the notification. We also have a choice called options, and this has to do with how the notification is delivered. Is it delivered quietly so that I don't get interrupted when the notification actually is sent and instead it just goes to notification center? Or do I actually get that notification live in real time? There are different options like that. Also, if you just choose the default activate, which is just double tapping on a notification, it's going to open the app that generated that particular notification. So here's a calendar alert, and I'm going to swipe up and I'm going to say clear. Sometimes it might say dismiss. All right, here's another calendar event, and this one, I can clear that one as well. See if there's anything I want to do anything else with. All right, here's a, this is interesting because this is a news notification and it is a group, meaning there's more than one notification in this group from the same app, or in this case, the same news source. So I can double tap to expand that group and I can see all the notifications in it. And then I can choose more, or I can long press it and I can choose save for later. I want to save this story for later. I don't just want to dismiss it. If I dismiss it, it just goes away. But if I actually want to save that article, I can hit save for later, and that puts it in my saved stories. Here's a message from the Messages app. So here again, I have actions. I can reply without even opening the Messages app. I can just go to the action items here, long press, and I can reply to the message right here. So that's how this works. It happens in Notification Center. It happens when you get a real-time notification while using the iPad. And it also happens on the lock screen. So if, in fact, I have had my iPad asleep and I get a notification, I can do the same types of things there. What I'd like to do right now is I'd like to begin to talk about the benefits of using a larger device, such as an iPad, and how that's going to affect things on the screen. And the first app I'd like to look at together to start to get a feel for that is actually the Settings app, because that's going to be pretty much the same for everybody, and it's going to give us an idea of what to look for.
Settings. Double tap to open.
And we're going to start there, and what we're going to talk about is how many apps on an iPad are displayed with a split screen interface. Now, that is not the same as like a split view where we're actually using two apps side by side at once. We can do that too, and we certainly will learn how to do that in a later session later on in this course. But there are some apps that just automatically are split screen. I have told you that I prefer and recommend using the iPad in landscape mode most of the time. That's what I'm in here. I happen to have my charge port to the left, but you could have it to the right. It doesn't really matter. And I want to tell you that Settings is one such app where you will see two different things going on the screen at once. On the left side of the screen, you will see the main setting categories. And whichever settings category I choose will display its contents on the right side of the screen. And so even for our sighted users, we need to go over this, but especially for our voiceover users. So let's open up the Settings app together here.
Settings.
Now, I can already tell you that by default, the General category on the left is selected. So I will touch about 3/4 of the way up on the iPad on the left-hand side to land on one of the categories. It doesn't have to be the first one. In fact, I probably don't really want it to be because I want to get to General more quickly.
Matthew Volbrecht, Wi-Fi,
right.
Home, Bluetooth, on.
Now I'm just swiping to the right.
Cellular, note, sound, focus, screen time, selected, General, button.
And you can hear that it said General is selected. That means that whatever General has in it is already showing on the right-hand side of the screen. So if I pick my hand up and I touch the right side of the screen, we're going to hear these General categories like About, Software Update, and so on.
Picture-in-picture settings, Apple AirPlay and Hand, AirDrop, Apple Care and Warranty, Software Update, About, button.
Okay, that's on the right side. You notice when I first touched it, I landed on the picture-in-picture thing. I didn't really mean to do that.
General,
but
heading.
There's General.
Screen recording in progress.
See, that's
button.
Up above.
General, heading.
But here's General on the right.
About, Software Update, Apple Care and Warranty, button.
Okay, so how can I teach this to you so that it doesn't present a challenge and make you frustrated. That's what's so important, because a lot of people who I have talked to over the years who are users of the iPad or who try to use the iPad, they say, well, it's just too hard. It's not like an iPhone where everything's easy. It's much harder because of that split screen thing. Boy, I just don't like that split screen thing. Well, my answer to that is you just haven't been properly trained in it. And hopefully right now, praise God, I'm going to properly train you in it. So let's talk. Let's talk about how this split screen thing works. I like to have my students imagine that the screen of an iPad is divided up into quadrants. Obviously, quadrants meaning 4 sections. We could say they're 4 equal parts, although they're not really equal. You're going to find out probably here in a little bit. It's kind of divided up in a couple of ways, but we'll get there. All right, so let's pretend that we're dividing up the screen now, and we could even picture, if we want to, putting some, what are those things, like wiki sticks or puffy paint. Obviously, we're not really going to put that on our iPad screen, but we'll pretend, okay? And that might help us to envision where the separations are. So let's first divide the screen into halves, the left half and the right half. Although you're going to find out that it's more like the left third and the right 2/3. They're not always equally divided, okay? But we'll just say half and half just to make things a little easier. So we've got the left side and the right side now. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take our pretend puffy paint or wiki sticks, and we're going to put a long vertical bar right down the middle of the iPad to divide those 2 sides of the screen, the left side and the right side. Now, if you can see, you're already thinking to yourself, that doesn't make sense because there's not a dividing bar going up and down the middle of the screen. Well, that's true. There really isn't. But I'm just referencing it so that you understand how definitively these 2 sides are separated. No, there's not a visual line that runs the height of the screen. There is no vertical bar that divides them. But it's just for reference purposes to help you understand that we really want to be definitive and clear about dividing the left side of the screen from the right side of the screen in these apps that use a split screen setup. All right. So now you've got your left side, you've got your right side. Now, I'm also then going to divide the left and the right side into the upper and lower portions. And again, that's not really done either visibly or even technically, but I want to do it so that when I start to describe to the VoiceOver users where things are, it might make it a little easier if we're using quadrants instead of just halves. So we're going to now say that each side, both the left and the right sides of the screen, are divided into an upper and a lower section. So we would have the upper right quadrant, the lower right quadrant, the upper left quadrant, and the lower left quadrant. In the middle, we got this imaginary bar, this line going up and down. And at the very, very top edge, above the upper left quadrant, we also have the status bar, which is not even relevant, so we're just going to ignore it. Okay? Have you got that in your mind now? Now we've got this iPad divided up into quadrants, upper and lower left, upper and lower right, with a dividing line in the middle that doesn't really exist. And we're going to continue operating in that manner for the duration of today's session and really for many sessions. We want you to keep that in your mind as we begin to move forward and describe this. So now what you have in this app, remember we're still in settings.
Settings, heading.
You have the left side of the screen, which has all of these main settings categories. And those are things that you would be used to seeing even on your iPhone, like your name with your Apple ID, the airplane mode thing, the Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, cellular.
Search field.
Of course, search is first.
Dictate.
But here we go.
Matthew, family, button, airplane mode, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, off, cellular data, button, personal hotspot, off, button.
All these things that you are used to in your settings. Now on an iPhone, if we double tap one of these things, it opens up. And then there's a back button at the upper left corner of the screen, and that's how you go back to the main settings categories. That is not so for an iPad. That's not how it works on an iPad. Instead, if we tap on or double tap on one of these settings categories, it selects it. Let's go to sounds.
Sounds button.
And let's double tap it. Okay, so I've double tapped it. Now, I'm going to touch the left-hand side of the screen because that's where I was already. And surely, you know, since I double-tapped sounds, I'm going to find my sound effects on the left-hand side of the screen.
Family, airplane mode, Wi-Fi,
Whoa.
Bluetooth, on.
Why? What is happening? I chose sounds. Why don't I see them? Why am I still seeing airplane mode, Wi-Fi? I must have done something wrong, right? Right? No, not at all. Everything's working perfectly, praise God. If I keep going, I'm going to find that sounds is selected. Listen for yourself.
Cellular, noted, selected, sounds,
Okay,
button.
general is no longer selected.
Screen, general,
See?
button. Selected, sounds, button.
So where are the sounds? Well, they're on the right-hand side of the screen. And what I should do is I should touch the upper right quadrant. I should touch as close to the left of the upper right quadrant as I possibly can. So think about the very convoluted thing that I'm just saying. I'm going to touch the upper left corner of the upper right side of the screen. Okay? Upper left side of the, or the left side of the upper right quadrant. Let's put it that way. So where am I? I'm near the top of the screen, the right-hand side of the screen, but I'm not at the very top right corner of the screen. I'm going to move my finger in towards the left, imagining that there's a bar separating the two sides of the screen that I don't want to cross. I picture that in my mind, and I'm going to be pretty close when I touch where I think I should touch.
Silent mode, heading.
And if you knew how close I was, let's just swipe one to the left.
Sounds, heading.
That's as far as I can go. And any to the left of that is going to have a very interesting effect that I'm going to show you in a second. So really, praise God, I landed right where I wanted to land. I landed at the upper left corner of the upper right quadrant, exactly where the sounds setting begins. With silent mode, that's the first heading.
Silent mode, heading.
And then we can go to the right to see all of our other sound options here.
Silent mode. iPad will play ringtones, ringtone and alerts. Sound volume 100%.
All right.
Adjustable.
So
ringtone.
you recognize all this, I'm sure, from your sounds settings. If I wasn't sure what I was doing, and I kept swiping to the left instead of to the right, what would happen is I would cross over that invisible boundary bar. Remember we said there's a bar in the middle of the screen, except there really is not? Well, because there really isn't, I can cross over. So if I keep going to the left, and this is what really tends to confuse some new iPad voiceover users because they don't know what's happening. I'm swiping left now within my sounds, and I expect to hear only sounds, right? But watch what happens.
iPad will play silent mode, sounds, heading, zoom, button, YouTube, Yelp, Wolfram Alpha Classic, Wikipedia, What the Golf, Walmart.
Where in the world am I? Because I'm not hearing anything that has to do with sounds anymore. Where I am is I'm at the very, very bottom of the left-hand side of the screen. I'm in my main settings categories again. And what you'll find is that in your settings, both on an iPhone and an iPad, if you scroll far enough down past all the stuff you're used to, airplane mode, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, general, sound, screen time, you know, accessibility, all these things you're used to, you're eventually going to get to settings categories for each of the apps that you have installed. And I was at the very, very end of that because I was going from the end back to the left. So when I kept swiping left from the sound settings, I actually jumped over to the left-hand side of the screen, and I'm now going backwards through my settings. First was Zoom, because that's the very last app that I have installed alphabetically. Then we heard what? YouTube, Wikipedia, you get the idea. So there was another one in there, I think. But anyway, it doesn't matter. You get the point. And you can see why people who don't know and understand how to navigate the iPad, they're going to be very confused by this. That's why I want to take so much time and drill it into your heads today. And then we'll continue to revisit it as we look at different apps. But it's so important we understand this from the get-go. And then I'm going to show you some shortcut ways that you can easily navigate, but I don't want to do that right away because that, to me, it's like cheating, right? You need to learn the layout of this, like we always say, the fundamentals first, and then you can put shortcut gestures to it if you want to. But at least you have the option. If you don't know any better, then you don't know how it's set up. So I really need you to get this. I need you to understand that when you touch the screen, it's going to depend on what side you're touching and how high up or how far down. If I touch lower down on the right side of the screen,
Reminder alerts. Sherwood Forest. Button.
see, I landed partway down my sound settings, but if I move my hand over to the left and touch that same part of the screen, but on the left side,
Yelp. Button.
I'm back on the left side. And why am I way down on Yelp? Because that's where we were. We jumped down there when we went from the top right, remember?
Silent mode. Silent mode. Sounds. Heading.
And I kept swiping left,
Zoom. Button.
and I ended up on Zoom. Now, because I'm on Zoom, if I touch the left side of the screen,
Stream. Button. Starbucks. Song Pop Party.
even if I touch up pretty high on the screen, I'm still getting these settings that are very, very late in the settings alphabet because there's more settings than will fit on the screen. So how do I get back up to the settings I'm familiar with, like airplane mode, Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth, for example? Well, there's two ways. I can do a 3-finger scroll down, to go through page by page.
Rows 71 to 90 of 104. Rows 56 to 75 of 104.
The other thing I can do is I can touch the status bar,
Monday, March 3:02 p.m. 3:02
and
p.m.
I can do a 1-finger double tap on the status bar. Sighted users can do that too, by the way. And a double tap on the status bar will scroll you to the very top.
Rows 1 to 12 of 104.
Look at that. Now I'm back
Matthew Vault. Family. Airplane. Wi-Fi. Bluetooth.
on the stuff that I'm used to at the very top. But I still, on the right-hand side, have my sounds because that's still selected.
Text tone. Note. Button. New mail. You've got mail. Button.
Okay, so there you go. Now, there are some cases in certain apps like settings where you have multiple layers. And a great example of that is our accessibility settings that we're so familiar with, right? Settings, accessibility, voiceover, rotor. I mean, we can go pretty deep in. And so I need to show you where the back, because then there is going to be a back button now. This left side of the screen is always reserved for our main settings categories when we're in this app. So if we select accessibility,
Personal notes. Accessibility. Button.
and we double tap,
Physical and motor. Heading.
now VoiceOver tried to be helpful and actually place my VoiceOver cursor on the right-hand side of the screen for me. So that is helpful, but I'm not clear at the top of that. So I know where to touch near the upper left of the top right. And
Vision. Heading.
now I'm where I want to be.
Voiceover. On. Button.
Right, and so you get the idea. But remember on the left,
Screen time. General. Control. Homes. Multitasking. Selected. Accessibility.
accessibility is selected, but we still have all these main categories on the left-hand side of the screen. And on the right side now, we have the accessibility options. VoiceOver is the first one,
Vision. Voiceover. On. Button.
and I'm going to double tap that.
Voiceover. Accessibility. Back button.
Notice now you have a back button. You heard that for yourself. It said VoiceOver, and it said accessibility back button. So if I'm thinking that the left side of the screen is now my main accessibility settings, I would be wrong. The left side of my screen is still my settings categories.
Screen time. General. Control center. Button.
On the right, isolated to only the right side of the screen, I've gone deeper into VoiceOver settings. So now if I touch the upper left corner of the upper right quadrant, right? Or I should just say the left corner, I guess, upper left corner of the upper right quadrant. So I'm on the right-hand side of the screen near the top, but I'm a bit to the left. I'm not as far to the right as I can go. We're going to find,
Voiceover. Switch button. On. Voiceover. Heading.
now I'm swiping left, okay?
Accessibility. Back button.
There's a back button at the top left of the right side of the screen. And if I go even deeper,
Voiceover recognition. Button. Braille. Button. Speech. Button.
I can go into speech,
Voice. Voiceover. Back button.
and you can see that there's now a VoiceOver back button. And if I swipe to the right, I have my speech settings.
Speech. Edit. Button. Voice. Alex. Button.
But if I go on the left-hand side of the screen, I still have my main settings categories.
Focus. Screen time. General. Button.
On the right side, I have these options up for what I'm in, and I can go back.
Voice. Alex. Edit. Speech. Voiceover. Back button. Voiceover. Speech. Button. voiceover, switch button, accessibility, back button, voiceover, on.
Now you can see that we are on the right side of the screen. We're back in the main accessibility options, and we still have on the left the main categories. And if I want to,
focus, general, about, button.
I've now selected general. You see that again, VoiceOver helpfully put the cursor on the right side of the screen. So as long as I just move left and right now, I can,
software update, Apple Care and Warranty.
I can see my general options, but remember that the left side of the screen,
focus, screen time, selected, general,
still has the main settings categories. The one thing that I think that you should not do, just for the sake of time and efficiency, is I do not think that you should just keep swiping, because you'll swipe sometimes for a long, long time. In other words, if I don't know and I select general on the left side of the screen,
sounds,
and then I say, well, I don't remember now where those general categories are. I know I'm looking for about, but I don't know left or right or whatever, so I'm just going to keep swiping. Well,
focus, screen time, select, control, display, home, multi, accessibility, wallpaper, Siri, Apple, Touch ID, battery, privacy, App Store.
We're not anywhere close to about, because we're going to have to go through every single settings category first, and then we're going to have to jump over. It'll take us over eventually to the right side of the screen where
about,
we'll find about. But you see, there would have been a lot of swiping there to get to that. And this is also why I don't recommend using a separate external keyboard first, because you will not appreciate this screen layout if you do that. You will totally miss out on this. You'll just spend hours probably doing your basic navigating instead of, learning where things are. What do I believe is the best? I believe muscle memory is the best. I have told you before that, I truly do believe I have a God-given talent for this stuff. But you definitely can practice it and develop muscle memory, which says, hey, I double tap on this on the left, and then I know that if I lift my hand and I take it to about that same height on the screen on the right, I'm going to be right where I want to be. I can do that. I can develop that muscle memory to do that, and I believe that is the best option. Is there a third option? If I realize I don't just want to keep swiping, but I'm not yet comfortable with the muscle memory? And the answer is yes, there is a third option. It's a rotor setting, and it's called containers. As a VoiceOver user, you may not know what containers are. You may have even removed them from the rotor of your iPhone because you didn't think that they really had a practical use that you could identify with. Well, this is your practical use. On the iPad, a container is basically a virtual or an invisible portion of the screen. A container, it's one section of the screen. And it may contain certain controls for an app, and then you have another section of the screen below it that has other controls. Well, on the iPad, in these apps that have the split screen interface like this, they tend to have each side of the screen as one container. So if I set my rotor to containers, I can swipe up or down with one finger to jump between the left and right sides of the screen. So for example, let's put the cursor on one of the settings on the left.
Touch ID and passcode, Apple Pencil, Siri search.
Okay, and now I'm going to set the rotor to containers.
Edit, screen, vertical nav containers.
And now, if I swipe down with one finger,
general, heading,
it took me to the right side of the screen, right where I want to be.
About, software update, general,
and if I
heading.
swipe back up with one finger,
Matthew Valbrecht,
it moves me just to the left side of the screen right at the top. So if we select sounds like we did before,
Wi-Fi, note, sounds, button, system sounds, heading.
Now it already put me on the right side, but I can swipe up with one finger.
Silent mode, heading.
I'm on a heading, but
sounds, heading. Matthew Valbrecht, Apple ID.
Now I'm back on the left side of the screen. It took me over to the left, and if I'm on the left side, anywhere on the left here,
Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, on.
And I swipe down with one finger with the rotor set to containers.
Sounds, heading.
It takes me very helpfully to the right side of the screen near the top. This is a great shortcut. I don't personally use it because, as I said, praise God, I know kind of right where I want to be, and I just lift my hand and I touch where I want to be. And you notice that most often when you select something on the left here, at least in the settings app, the voiceover cursor automatically moves to the right side of the screen. And that is it's designed to do that, to be helpful to you, to sort of take you where it thinks you want to go. Now you notice also that it doesn't always take you right to the very top of the screen. It sometimes was a couple items in already, but you can always swipe left. So let's do that again. Let's do general, for example.
Airplane mode. Notifications. General.
A
Button.
double tap.
About. Button.
Now it actually put me right on the first item this time. It put me on about. So if I swipe to the right, I have the rest of the options.
Software update. Apple Care and warranty.
And if I swipe to the left,
Software. About. But general. Heading.
there's nothing else there. If I swipe again, I'm going to end up at the bottom left. But you can see this pattern. It is very, very consistent, and it's very important that you spend some time with it to really get comfortable with this. And I recommend starting out by practicing in the settings app. Use that app to give yourself a sort of a real-time quiz as to where things are going to be. And also, you can use it to familiarize yourself with the various settings that are available to you on your iPad. You can adjust your wallpaper and background under display. You can adjust your sound effects. You can play with your voiceover settings. You can look at all kinds of things under here and become familiar with the settings for your iPad while also learning to properly navigate, because it's so useful. And really and truly, this is what's going to make the iPad such a joy to use, is knowing how you can quickly navigate. And we're going to spend a lot more time using other apps and doing this very same thing. In fact, the next app that we're going to look at today is another one that has this sort of split screen setup with something on the left and something else on the right. And it's going to be the Mail app. One of the first things we want to teach you in this course is how to send and receive basic email. And then we're going to continue down that track, and we're going to look at more advanced functionality like editing your email with rich text formatting, how to create mailboxes and email aliases and things of that nature. With Apple Mail, we can send and receive messages from multiple accounts. I already told you last week that everybody is entitled to an iCloud.com email address. I highly encourage you to take advantage of it. Trainer Cliff and I both think that iCloud Mail is the best there is. All the functionality you ever need. But you can also use third-party email accounts with your iPad, of course. On my iPad, I have the iCloud account, but I also have my Xfinity account, my Comcast.net account. I have a Gmail account, which I only have because of having a YouTube channel and so on. And then I also have multiple aliases. An alias is like an email address that you can use to send and receive, but the mail is actually going to come to another inbox. Like with iCloud, you can have, I believe, 3 aliases. Plus, you can also now have your own domain. If you have a website and you have a web host that gives you your own domain that you pay for, or you can actually buy a domain through Apple Mail. So there's a lot of options that you have for having multiple accounts set up. Now, of course, you set up these accounts from settings, and we will actually take a look at some of those settings in a little bit. But the Mail app will work with whatever accounts you've set up, and you have to go to Settings and Mail to do so. And there you can add accounts to your iPad, right? So we can add our email provider account. We can add our Yahoo, our Google, whatever, right? There really is, although of course, like we always say, it's personal preference, but there really is no need to use like the Gmail app even if you have a Gmail account, or the Microsoft Outlook app to use an Outlook account. Simply add those to settings under Mail, and you'll be able to use the Apple Mail app. And I do believe, personally, that is a far better experience. I am not a fan of the way the Gmail app is set up, and Microsoft Outlook, we won't even go there. But if you need to use those accounts, you can set them up to work with Apple Mail by adding them to the accounts under your iPad settings. If you prefer to use the other apps, that's fine. It's your choice, but I'm just telling you, you don't have to. Now, right now, we're not going to worry so much about accounts, but we're going to go ahead into Mail and look around a little. And you're going to see that this has that same split screen interface that we were just dealing with in settings. Allow me to get out of Zoom here.
Mute my audio, but picture-in-picture displayed.
And
Clock 3.
Mail happens to be on my dock.
Doc, notes. Phone cap mail, 191 unread emails.
Okay.
Double tap to open.
There's a badge count. We will double tap this app to open it.
Mail. App shelf. Mail. All inboxes.
And the first thing I like to do is touch the status bar, which is going to be near let me rephrase that. I like to touch the mail status, not the regular status bar on the iPad, but the mail status at the bottom left of the screen, because
Toolbar. Checking for mail.
it's actually called a toolbar here. And that tells me how many unread messages I have and if it's still checking for mail and so on.
Checking for mail.
Which is what it says it's doing right now. If I touch even further here.
Checking for mail. Show app reply. Toolbar. Checking. Show app shelf. Button.
Okay. So we see this thing that we don't really recognize this term, show app shelf. What does that mean? Well, we're going to learn about that a little bit later when we start dealing with apps that we use in split view, like two apps on the screen at once, or multiple windows of the same app. But essentially, the app shelf here has to do with the fact that we can have more than one mailbox displayed as separate windows. We can have the app sort of in a full screen view displaying only a single message. There's different kinds of ways that we can use the app shelf. Sometimes you'll see that term. Sometimes you'll see the term sheet grabber, and that also is like a similar thing that really basically refers to having additional options for the way the app is presented, having like a menu that appears. So in this case, it's really just a menu of open windows for the app, right? Your inbox, your message, those kinds of things. But we're not going to worry much about that right now. We will explore it more later. Right now, I just want to give you the basic app.
Updated just now, 192 unread.
So we hear that it finished checking for messages, and it gives me the total number of unread messages. It says it was updated just now. So if we want to check again, we can always refresh. The way we do that is we touch the left side and we find the list of messages here.
Messages, unread.
Now we swipe down with 3 fingers until we get all the way to the first page, and one more time we'll refresh.
Refreshing content. Unread. Toolbar. Updated just now.
Okay. And for sighted users, you don't have to do 3 fingers. You just pull down with 1 finger. Let's go up to the top left of this screen.
Show sidebar button.
And we're going to learn something now that we're going to need to know about a lot of iPad apps. A lot of iPad apps have sidebars. A sidebar, all right, if you're taking notes, pay attention to this, all right? A sidebar is a vertical bar that usually runs along the left-hand side of the iPad to provide quick access to useful information, or in this case, to a list of mailboxes. So our mailbox list is on the sidebar. You notice that the sidebar is hidden right now, so we're not seeing our list of mailboxes. Let's swipe to the right.
All inboxes. Heading.
And you hear that all inboxes is selected right now. That is the universal inbox, which means it's showing messages from all of the inboxes that I have. And you'll notice that
Edit button.
there's an edit button if I need to multi-select. You know, if I want to immediately select 12 messages and delete or move them. But let's keep going.
Search. Search field. Dictate. Dimmed button.
So there's the search.
Double tap to.
All right, I just stopped that there. There's the search and dictation options, which are going to allow me to search for senders or search for subject lines, search for messages. And you notice that dictate is dimmed, and that's because we're on a Zoom call, so you can't dictate at the same time. But if we keep going to the right now, we get to the list of messages.
Messages. Unread. MagicKitchen.com. Unread. Staples. Unread. Barclays View. Barclays Easy Pay.
Now, any of these messages can easily be deleted by just swiping up with one finger until we hear delete, and then we double tap. For sighted users, you just kind of swipe left on the message. I don't need any of those. They're all like promotional types of things. So
Unread. MagicKitchen.com. 20% off. 3:01 p.m. Sign up for SMS messaging. View online. View menu. Unsubscribe 20.
You hear it reading the message preview, which is normally the first 2 or 3 lines of the message. You can change that in your settings. If I want to hear the preview again, I do a 3-finger single tap.
Messages. Group. Sign up for SMS messaging. View online. View menu. Unsubscribe 20% off.
Okay, but I already knew I didn't want this message or need it, so I'll swipe up with one finger until I hear delete.
Delete.
And I'll double tap.
Deleted. Unread. Staples. Open ASAP for delete. Deleted. Unread. Barclays. Delete. Deleted.
Same thing with those.
Unread. Grubhub. Delete. Deleted.
Lots of ads.
Unread.
Lots of ads.
Kevin Perrin via groups.io. Blind ads.
Now, if I come to a message that I want to actually read, and I want to do more than just listen to the message preview, I need to double tap this message. So let's find a message that I'll actually want to read.
Unread. UPMC. Unread. Kasai 7. Unread. Chewy. Unread. Mike and Mark.
Here's a...
Chewy.com. Your package has arrived.
Okay, so we got some stuff for our dog from Chewy, and I'll go ahead and read that message. It says the package arrived. So we're going to double tap the message. Now, again, as with...
Selected. Chewy.com.
Okay, you already heard it. It says it's selected. Look, I'm still in the message list.
Unread. Kasai 7. Selected. Chewy.com.
Okay, it's no longer unread. It's selected. But where is it? Well, it's just like your settings. On the left-hand side of the screen in landscape mode, the iPad is showing the list of messages. I can scroll through that list, I can swipe through that list, all the kinds of things that I'm used to, but on the left-hand side is my messages list. On the right-hand side of the iPad is whatever message I have selected on the left. If you select a message on the left-hand side of the screen, it displays the body, it displays its contents of the message on the right. So I want to touch sort of 3/4 of the way up the iPad here, only 1/4 of the way down.
Message header. Message content. Chewy.com. Chewy.com. Your package has arrived. Chewy.com. Get ready to make your pet's day.
Okay.
Swipe up or down to select a custom action, then double tap to activate.
And you heard that there are custom rotor actions. It said swipe up or down. Also, if I touch the upper right of this right side of the screen, I'll find buttons. Listen to these.
Move. Delete.
Again, what I was doing there is touching the upper right of the screen. We have all these buttons now.
Reply all. Reply. Toolbar. Reply. Button.
Notice it actually jumps down to the toolbar there at the bottom.
Toolbar. Show app shelf. Button.
But now up to the right, top right.
Reply. Button. Reply all. Button. Forward. Button. Delete. Button. Move. Button. Compose. Button.
And compose is sort of at
Double
the...
tap and hold to bring up drafts.
And you can tap and hold or double tap and hold to bring up the list of drafts.
More. Button.
More.
Message header.
Then we get into our message. So you notice those are up. So I know now if I want to compose, it's probably at the top right.
More. Button. Compose. Button.
Okay, there it is. So you know, you explore this stuff a little bit, and then the rest of the screen on the right-hand side is the message.
Message content. Get ready to make your pet's day. Order number 14 placed on just delivered.
Now,
Actions available.
I also have rotor actions. That's another way that we can do this. But if I want to go back to my list of messages, I just touch the left side. I kind of know.
Messages. Unread. Unread. Kevin Perry. Unread. Unread. Selected. Chewy.com. Your package has arrived.
And I still can use containers if I prefer.
Edit. Actions. Edit. Screen. Contain. Vertical containers. Toolbar. Toggle filter. Off. But reply. Button. Message header. Your package has arrived. From toolbar. Toggle messages. Unread. Kevin Perrin via groups.io.
Okay. And that toggle filter button is on the left-hand side by the toolbar status here where
Toolbar. Updated 3 minutes ago. Toggle filter. Off. Button.
it's just to the left of that. If I choose that option,
Toggle filter by. Unread. On. Filtered by. Unread. Button. Show app shelf. Filtered by. Unread. Toggle filter by. Unread. Toggle filter. Off.
so we can change how we're viewing what we're seeing. Right now we're filtering by unread messages, but I turned that back off. All right, so that's the nice thing to know that you have that option as well. Now, I was looking for, let's see if I...
Message. Unread. Unread. G. Unread. K-A. Unread. Natalie. Unread. Kilo.
I just wanted to see if I could easily find a
Unread. X.
message with an attachment. I don't know.
Unread. Applebee's Grill Plus button. Get ready to make.
Well, maybe I'll search.
Get ready to make your pets.
Let's see if I can search for something that I know has an attachment. Because that will help me to show it to you. So let's go up to search.
Search. Search field. Search field is editing. Search.
And I am going to search for messages
Recording.
from a person's name named Amy. I'm working for her, teaching some in-person classes.
Cap M.
So let's do.
Cap M. Y.
All right, search Amy. We need to spend some time talking about this on-screen keyboard too, and we will. But I've searched for Amy, and
Space. Amy.
let's put a W because her
W.
name is last name's with a W.
Search.
Hit search. Left side of the screen.
Search results. Amy White. iPhone PT1. 1003. Unread. Amy Rosen. Flagged. Orange. Linda Hunt. Amy Rosen. Replied. Amy White. iPhone classes ago. Wednesday.
Now I could have looked at my flagged messages too, because I know I have hers flagged. I think the one I want is flagged.
Replied.
But
Mark and Amy. iDevices.
Okay.
Replied. Matt and Amy. David and replied.
Is this it? Let's see.
Matt and Amy. iPhone class. 1/30/24. 2 messages in thread. Hi Amy. Hope everything is
Well,
going.
that's a good one to show you threaded messages. I don't know if there's an attachment there, but there's a thread. Now, a thread is where you have but back and forth, the same subject line, right? A message from me, a message from her, a message from me, a message from her, back and forth. So I want to go ahead and show you how to navigate that since that's there.
Selected.
I've double tapped it. It's selected on the left. It's showing on the right.
Message 2 of 2. Matt. Unfortunately, the majority of the tech classes are designed.
Now, if I want to go to the previous message in that thread, I need to just set my rotor to messages. Just turn the rotor,
Messages.
swipe up with one finger to go to the previous message.
Message 1 of 2. Collapsed. Replied. Amy White. 1/29/24. Hi Matt. I had a call from a lady that has a Droid phone. She wanted to know if your class would be beneficial for her. Thanks, Amy White.
Now you notice it said it was collapsed. Listen again.
Message 1 of 2. Collapsed.
That's because I've already read it and replied to it, and they tend to collapse. If there was more than what I could read and I needed to expand it, I just double tap to expand it. But when you get new ones, they're already expanded. I swipe down.
Message 2 of 2. Matt. Hi Amy. Hope everything is going well with you.
And
Actions available.
I have to
Use
swipe to the right.
Unfortunately, the majority of the tech classes are designed around Apple products, so Android users will not get a lot of them.
Okay. Now, I am reading this message, and because I swiped right, my rotor automatically defaulted back to actions.
Unread, reply, flag, trash, activate,
See,
default.
if I want to go to messages again, I just turn the rotor left.
Messages.
And there I am. I swipe up with one finger,
Message 1 of 2. Message 2 of 2.
down with one finger, and you see that that's how you move through a threaded message conversation. I don't need to expand the thread. I don't need to do anything else. It's very, very easy to navigate threaded messages this way. Now, I still want to find an attachment. Hold on.
Search results. Selected. David Who's Amy White. Classes and catalog. 12/6/23 has attachments.
Yep.
Gay smiling face.
There we go. Let's double tap that.
Selected. Amy White. Classes and catalog.
When I have a message with an attachment, I'm usually going to find it near the bottom of the message, so I'm going to touch the bottom right of the screen here.
More actions. Button.
Where there's a More Actions button.
Available.
What's in there, by the way? Should we look at that? Let's look at that. More Actions. Bottom right of the screen, okay?
Amy White. Hi.
It's just another place to find some of the same actions we already saw, but there's additional actions here, too.
Close. Button. Reply. Reply all. Forward. Trash message. Remind me. Flag. Mark as unread. Move message. Archive message. Move to junk. Mute. Notify me. Print. Block sender.
Look at all these different options, right? Remind me, so it comes up as a reminder to follow up with it later. To print the message, block the sender.
Print. No, mute.
Or notify me when somebody else replies.
Move to junk.
Look at all these different options.
Archive
What else do we have?
message.
Archive.
Move message.
Move message.
Mark as unread.
Can move it to another mailbox. Mark it as unread.
Flag.
You can flag it. I really like flagging. We'll talk about that shortly.
Reply. Close. Button.
All right, we'll close that.
Message.
What I was looking for was the attachment. Just to the left of that More Actions button.
More action. Message content. 1240_001.pdf. 187 kilobytes. Button.
There's the attachment.
Actions available.
I just double tap the attachment.
Message content. Hi Matt. Image. Thumbnail for page 2. Selected. Thumbnail for page 1.
And I'm in this PDF attachment.
Done. Button.
There's a done button when I'm finished with it, but if I swipe right,
Image. 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 Sidebar. Image. Sidebar. Squares. Leading. 2 of 2. Black text on a white background. Living the connected digital life. PWT/394 QuickBooks 2019 series. In today's world, we are all connected. Millions of small business owners use devices like the iPhone and iPad QuickBooks to handle.
and look at, even though these are images, this apparently is an image. Even though this is an image-based PDF, it's still, VoiceOver is still reading it to me. It's reading the text in those images. So now, if I want to save or work with this PDF further,
image, thumbnail for page 2, done, markup, switch button, off.
To the left of the
tap to toggle settings.
To the left of the done button, there's a markup button if I want to draw or write on this.
Search button.
A search button.
Share button.
And a share button. The share button will bring up the ever popular share sheet, also known as the share menu. Many apps on your iPad will offer share sheets, so we need to learn how to work with them. A share sheet gives you places to save the document or the file that you're working with. It also gives you other apps that you can open them in, and it also gives you options for actually sharing it with other people. So let's open up my share sheet for this PDF.
Message content. Hi, message content. Attached are your classes and Jessica Ball.
Now I lift my hand and I touch the screen.
PDF document. Middle dot 187 kilobytes. Jessica Vault PDF.
And you can see that I have a list of sharing suggestions first that my iPad thinks I might want to share with.
Jessica Volbrecht. Messages. Mom. Messages. Carson Volbrecht. Edward Amy Pat. Kylie More with the map. Family. Fred Jeffrey Pat. Airdrop. Button.
Now I'm on to my section where I can actually choose different sharing methods. AirDrop, which we will talk more about later, but AirDrop basically means if I am in the same room or in the close proximity with another Apple user and I want to share this with them directly, I can AirDrop it.
Messages. Button.
Messages, I can send it by messages to anybody I want to.
Mail. Button.
Of course, I can email it.
Notes. Button.
I can open it up in Notes.
Freeform. Button.
I can open it in the Freeform app. We're going to learn about all these apps.
Amber. Button.
I don't know why I'd want to open it in the cooking recipe app, but it is a possibility. That's a choice for if you have recipe files that you want to import. So I know why it's there. I wouldn't do it for this PDF, but it is there for that purpose.
Art Studio Pro.
Okay.
Button. Books. Button.
You can save it in Apple Books. That's another really good place to save PDFs, right? Apple Books.
Procreate button. Zoom button. More button.
And then if we keep going, we're going to see other things we can do with this now.
Copy button.
Copy it.
Print button.
Print it out.
Save to files button.
Save to files. So you can save this on iCloud Drive or anywhere you want to that's connected to your Files app, which we're going to learn about later as well. So this is how you would save a PDF. Other attachments kind of work the same way. The exact choices that you get will depend on the kind of file that it is, right? If I had an audio attachment, it might give me the option to save it in voice memos or open it up in iMovie and use it in a movie track. Or, you know, if I had a photo, it would give me the option to save it as wallpaper or to add it to a contact or maybe make a watch face out of it if I had the iPhone here. So it's the exact sharing choices in the share sheet will depend upon the kind of file that you get, but some of them will be the same. And of course, if I don't want to do any of this, I can just find a place up above on the screen, sort of above where all these choices in the menu are, so they're lower down. If I kind of touch above upper right.
More with the Mac picture in picture.
Whoops, not there because that's picture in picture.
Mail. Dismiss pop-up.
Upper left will do it.
Activate to dismiss pop-up window.
I hear that dismiss pop-up and I can just double tap. I could also do the two-finger scrub to dismiss this. But there we go.
Message content.
And that's how you deal with attachments. It's very, very simple. You find the attachment near the bottom of the screen, and we've shown you a lot here already. We've searched, we've done threading, and we've done, what was the other thing we just did? Attachments. So, there's a lot of possibilities. I also showed you, you've seen the options to reply and to flag a message. We're going to look at how that works and what that means. But first, let's just compose a very simple message. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to find this search field on the left.
1240 under image. Thumbnail for image. Thumbnail for page. Select.
Oh,
thumbnail.
I forgot a step. I'm still in this PDF. I got to get out of this. I got to hit done.
Mark done button.
Forgot. Okay.
Message content.
Now I'm going to clear out this search field.
Selected. All mailbox. Cancel. Amy W.
And you notice that you can filter your search results here.
Selected. All mailboxes. Current mailbox. Search results. Reply.
Okay. You can filter, but let's just hit cancel.
Selected. Cancel. Search. Search field.
Now,
messages. Unread. Kilo unread.
I'm probably
page 1 of 800.
a little further down. Scroll up here, but it doesn't really matter.
Messages.
Now, what we're going to do is we're going to compose a new message. Top right of the screen.
Picture in picture. Mail.
Well, again, I'm running into that picture in picture because that's up there. That would not normally be, but we're sharing the screen.
Picture in picture.
But I know also that my
mail forward button,
compose button is up there.
Double tap and hold to bring up drafts. To text field messages selected. Peacock.
Now I still hear my messages, but if I tap on the right side of the screen,
subject MCC to text field is editing character mode insertion point at start.
We're in a to field right now where we can type the name, the email address of the contact that we want to send our email to. Or if they're not in our contacts, we certainly can type the whole email address, and that's fine. But I want to show you,
add contact button.
Just to the left of the edit field, there's an add contact button. This lets you actually look through all of your existing contacts, and you can choose one to send to. That's not normally the way I like to do it, though. What I like to do is I just like to start typing the first few letters of the name of the person to whom I want to send the email, and assuming that they're in my contacts or that I'm replying to them and they've recently sent something, it's going to pop up above the keyboard. Let's send a message to Trainer Cliff. Oh, whoops, I put a J now. Okay, KL, and I'll even put the I. You hear the little blip sounds that are indicating things are popping up. So, I only typed KLI. Let's touch the screen above the keyboard on the right-hand side.
Dismiss Y. To text field is editing. Clay. Add contact. To heading results. Clifton Antonio Miller Sr. Cliff.
And that's what I want. I want to double tap on that because
Toast 2 results. Clifton Antonio Messages.
Now, I could have swiped up and down to see if there were additional options. I could have expanded. Sometimes if you swipe up and down, you'll hear something that says more options, or sometimes it will be just to the right of the name as an expand options chevron mark you can double tap. But either way, Cliff has multiple email addresses, so I could have chosen a different one, but I'm okay with the one that it put in here. So
2. Text field. Clifton Antonio Miller Sr.
there it is. If I want to add more people, I could just type them right now. Let's also include Sarah from our team.
S-A.
And I'll just put the S and the A. And
Dismiss. 2. Clifton Antonio. Add contact. 2. Heading. Results. Sally. James is Sarah Potok. Spot.
there she is. Let's double tap. So we're sending
Messages.
to 2 people now.
New message. Heading. Send. Dimmed. Button. Add contact. 2. Text field. Clifton Antonio. Sarah Potok. CC/BCC. From. Double tap to show more info.
This is the expander that shows the CC and the BCC fields as well as the from field. And in case you don't know, CC is carbon copy, BCC is blind carbon copy. This is very useful when you want to include somebody that you're maybe not necessarily directly talking to, like, if I'm a teacher and I'm emailing a student, maybe I'll also CC their parents or something like that. There are all kinds of reasons you might CC someone. BCC takes away the whole list of names so that each person doesn't have to see, oh, you sent this to 30 different people. There's a bit of controversy sometimes in the industry about whether you should or shouldn't use BCC. I'm not even going to get into that, but it's there. And also that expander lets you choose the from. And that is, again, if you have multiple email accounts set up on your device, you can then choose the from address. Now, we have a default from address that we set up in our settings so that if I don't choose, it automatically picks the default one. Or in some cases, it picks the best one. Like if somebody sends to you, it'll reply from the one that they sent to unless you change it. But let's, it may know, too, that it may not always even be the default. It may be that I've emailed someone from a particular email address before. So it selects that for me. Let's go ahead and see what it's selected here.
Sarah Potok. CC/BCC. From.
We'll double tap.
Double tap to CC. B from M. Subject.
Okay.
From M.
So it is using my default one. Let's go ahead and change it here. Let's double tap it.
Messages.
Now I got my list,
unread.
email.
Dismiss context menu. Button. Pastor. Shop it. Selected. M. Hyphen. Unders.
Look at all those choices.
Dismiss. Pastor Matt. M. High keyboard.
Okay, that's the.
M. Past. Help at. Support at. Info at ttjtech.biz. Button.
Double tap that one.
Text.
We're going to use info at ttjtech.biz.
From subject text field. From info at ttjtech.biz.
You can hear that in there. Now here's my subject field.
Subject text field.
Double tap.
Double tap to add insertion point at end.
My subject is just going to be hello.
Cap H. Cap E. L. L. O.
Now I can press return to automatically go to the message body, or I can just find the message body on the right-hand side of the screen, upper middle.
Subject. Message content. Message body. Sent from my iPad.
Double tap.
Field. Insertion point at start.
It's one of those toggles where if you double tap it again,
Insertion point at end.
it goes to the end.
Insertion point at start.
It goes to the beginning. And we'll just type something very quickly here.
L. L. M.
Now,
Comma. Hi. New line. A. I. Sp. I. At. A. U. At. Just. A. Sp. T. T. Space. T. T.
Oops.
Returns T. E. At. T. New line. F. I. 4. C. L. A. At. S. Period. Class.
and let's try to do some auto filling or auto correcting or something here so you hear what that's like.
Space. Cap H. O. Double. Space. A. O. E. U.
Yep, space.
U. Doing.
And it put doing, so we'll...
Question mark. Doing. New line.
Let's read what we typed, folks. Let's tap the edit field.
Message content. This is just a test for class. How are you doing? Text field. Double tap to edit.
And I didn't have to...
Content start.
I didn't have to type all that because it actually filled it filled some of it in for me with autocorrect or predictive quick type. So If I want to send this now,
Hello. Send button.
there's my send button. I can just double tap to send it. If I want to do more to this message, we have a lot of choices here. If we swipe left,
Hello. Cancel. Hide keyboard. Numbers. Space.
or maybe we need to swipe right.
Message body. Sub in CC2.
Well,
Send L can't pop numbers. Dictate number.
I stand
Emoji selected.
corrected.
Shift. Period.
Where am I? Let's see. Maybe
Action cap Q. Tab.
there we go.
Insert drawing. Button.
I'm swiping backwards from the letter Q to the left. We can insert a drawing, and that means I can draw with an Apple Pencil or my finger.
Insert attachment. Button.
We can insert an attachment, and that means I will have access through the Files app to iCloud Drive or whatever else I have connected there. Here's some suggested typing.
The cap I.
Let's keep going.
Insert photo or video actions. Button.
Okay, so we can insert a photo or a video from our photo library.
Text format. Button.
I guess that's also where we can take a photo or video with the camera,
Insert photo or video actions.
because it says actions.
Button. Text format. Button.
We can format the text,
Arrow.return.backward.circle.ba. Button.
and that
Message con. Vertical scroll. Arrow.return.backward.circle.ba. Button.
that one's not labeled, but I think, let's see, I forget what.
Message content.
Oh.
NBC. Link.
Okay.
Telemundo. Link. Image. Space. Message sub in CC2. Send. Hello. Cancel. Hide keyboard. Numbers. Space. Dictate.
See what
Cap Q. Tab. Insert drop ins. I'm the cap ins text. Message vertical arrow.return.back. Message content. Dismiss. Undo. Button. Redo. Paste.
Okay,
Button.
that's just undo, redo, and paste. That one that has the backwards arrow. That's what that is. So we'll dismiss that by touching somewhere else.
Dismiss pop-up.
All right, so,
Messages. Select.
like, if I want to show you the text formatting,
Tab. Insert. I'm the cap. Insert text format. But message content.
some of those choices.
Default. Strike. Bold. Format. Heading.
you can...
Bold. Button.
Now, you would have to select some text before you could use these, and I don't know that I'll show you today how to select text. We will eventually. For you VoiceOver users that have taken VoiceOver in and out, you should already know, but we'll still do it on the iPad, okay? But bold,
Italic. Underline. Strike through. Default font. Decrease font size. Increase font size. Text color. Numbered list. Bold list. Left justified. Center justified. Right justified. Decrease quote level. Increase indent left. Indent right.
look at all these things we can do.
Indent right.
And that's
Button.
it. Let's tap off of that.
Dismiss pop-up. Indent right. Button. Format. Dismiss pop-up.
So,
Messages.
we can adjust the font size, we can adjust the text color, we can have bulleted and numbered lists, we can bold and italicize things, and there's a lot more, of course. And you know that links, when you type them in, automatically will appear as links, so that's convenient. You don't have to worry about that. This is a very powerful app, and as you can see, even with sending and receiving messages, there's so much that we can do here. We've not really talked about the on-screen keyboard yet. I'm going to send this first to Cliff and Sarah before we do anything else.
Hello. Send. Button. Send. Dimmed.
Now I'll touch my
Messages.
status bar.
Selected.
Bottom left, status bar.
Toolbar. Undo send. Button.
Undo send. If I don't want to send this, or if I realize that I forgot to attach a file or something,
Undo send. Button.
I can double tap undo send. That's going to be available for 30 seconds here. My message is going to sit there and wait for me for 30 seconds to make sure it's really what I want to do. It's sort of sitting in the outbox there.
Undo send. Button.
You'll hear that button go away here on its own in a moment, and VoiceOver will refresh.
Undo send. Button.
Just like-
Toolbar. Check
There, it
for
did it.
mail.
Now it's gone. Now the message is actually gone, and I can't undo the send anymore. So that's one of the options you have. Another thing that I could have done is I could have long pressed the send button to send it later. I could schedule a send for a later time. Maybe I didn't really want to send it right now at this exact moment. I wanted instead to do, a send it tomorrow morning or something. So we have those options as well. The on-screen keyboard. So you heard me type today on screen using proper home row fingering. I was not using a Bluetooth or smart keyboard. I was typing directly on the screen. Praise God. I enjoy doing that. He's given me, he helped me to do that. It is a really fun thing to do. And I was using direct touch typing. For the voiceover users, you know that that is like what a sighted user would do without voiceover. You tap on a letter and it gets inserted. And I do that on my iPhone and I do it on my iPads. And it truly is my favorite way to type because it's convenient, it works well, and it once you become comfortable with the layout of the keyboard on screen, you can do that. The nice thing about using your keyboard in your iPad in landscape mode is that you have a full-size keyboard on the screen. Even though it's a virtual software keyboard, it's a full-size keyboard, so I can actually put my fingers in the proper configuration where they belong. Home row position. So it gives me the ability to type on screen with a full-size keyboard. Now, this takes practice. It absolutely takes practice. And there are other typing modes, touch typing, standard typing, right? All those modes that we can use until we become really comfortable with it, or even no matter how long, we can just keep using those modes if we prefer. But we have the choice. And then, of course, later on, we'll talk about using smart keyboards and, other external keyboards as well, which I do definitely do some of the time. I don't always type on screen. Depends on how long the thing is that I'm typing, usually. But I certainly have a smart keyboard. In fact, the iPad that I've joined this call with today is my 10th generation, so the keyboard's already here. Had I wanted it, I could have simply turned the iPad to a different configuration and it would have been available to use. But I really wanted to type on screen. When you do type on screen, one of the nice things with an iPad is that you have much quicker access to your number row. If you're using a large 12.9-inch iPad, the numbers actually appear right above the letters just like they do on a traditional mechanical keyboard. So you don't have to switch to the numbers. You can literally just go up above the Q, W, E, and you'll find 1, 2, 3, all the numbers up there. And the punctuation and the symbols and so forth work by simply adding the Shift key. On an iPad like the one I'm using right now, which is a 10.9-inch, a lot of your punctuation still can be accessed without having to go to the numbers keyboard. And I'd like to show you that by going to we'll just go to a note.
Doc, mail, cap, notes. Notes. Note. Spring, summer 2000.
We're going to learn about the Notes app later.
Show sidebar. Important data. Heading. New note. Button. Note. Text field is editing.
Okay.
Insertion point at start.
Just going to type.
Swipe up or down to select cap E F T space. Cap F O O I. Cap A space. Caps L A S S.
Test for iPad class. Now, I want a colon after that. I happen to know the colon is on the letter M, so I don't have to switch to numbers. I find the M, and because I'm in touch typing, I want to make sure I don't just tap the M, otherwise I'm going to insert it.
Space.
See,
class.
like that.
Space.
So I delete that space, and if I hold my finger
November.
for a split second instead
Swipe
of just
up or down to select.
I'll pause that there. If I hold my finger there for a second instead of just tapping it,
M.
now
Mike. Swipe up or down to select a custom action, then double tap to activate.
So I'll swipe down.
Colon.
There's the colon. Now I need to double tap with one finger on another part of the screen to insert that colon, preferably a part that is far above the on-screen keyboard so I don't accidentally type something else.
Colon.
And we put the colon in there.
New line. New line.
Press return, and I'll do the same thing. I'll enter numbers here by using the upper row here.
Cap Q 1. 1. Cap Q double 2. 2 E 3 3.
So we just inserted 1, 2, 3.
New line 123.
Now, how do you know where the numbers are and the keys are? Well, I just memorize them. So I know that the top row with the Q, W, E, R, those are numbers 1 through 9. Well, 1 through 0. The next row here we can listen to.
Cap A.
That's the at.
At. Cap A. Activate. Default.
Let me turn off the capital
Selected. Shift.
so it's a little quicker.
A. At. S. Number sign. D. Dollar sign. F. Ampersand. G. Star.
Okay, you get the idea. And the next row down, the Z, X, see, those also have symbols. Like
I know the common, like the letter, let's see, the letter X has
X.
the hyphen.
Hyphen.
The letter B
N. B.
has the backslash.
Slash.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, it's the forward slash. I apologize. B has the slash, the forward slash. I know that M is the colon. I showed you that. I think N is the semicolon.
N. Semicolon.
Yep. So you can.
Return L.
Where's my apostrophe? It's on the
Swipe up or down.
apostrophe's on the K.
K. Closing single quotation mark. J. Right paren. 8 left paren.
Okay, so you get all this, right?
L. Closing double quotation.
Is the double quote. So all of these are easily accessible. There is still a
numbers.
See, that's still there.
Dictate.
Along with dictate.
Space.
And
numbers.
Your
hide keyboard. Numbers. Numbers.
Trying to go down a little. Emoji. That's there. And then on the bottom right of the on-screen keyboard, you have a hide button that hides the keyboard completely. To show it again, you just double tap in the edit field again. But this is, and that hide keyboard is actually very important because there are some screens, especially on websites and stuff, where if you leave the keyboard showing, it's going to get in the way, and other things you try to tap on will not work properly because the keyboard is in the way. So you have to hide it. So don't forget about that hide keyboard button at the bottom right. But we'll look at a lot of this later in future sessions. We can't do all that stuff in one day, obviously. But I do think that memorizing where these are saves you time, and then you just swipe up or down with one finger and then double tap to insert the alternate, in this case, the other symbol or punctuation or the number or what have you. Again, I would stress that the on-screen keyboard of a larger iPad, like the 12.9-inch iPad Pro, you don't even have to do that because the numbers will be right above the letters, and you can use Shift and then one of the numbers to get punctuation, like Shift and the number 1 for exclamation, for example, and it has the comma and the period, which this does too. You'll notice to the right of the M,
comma, period.
And if I shift on the comma, that's exclamation, and if I do shift on the period, that's question mark. But on Wednesday, I'll use the other iPad. I'll make sure I join with the 12.9 on Wednesday to show you the on-screen keyboard there so that you can see that it has the numbers right along with the other letters on the same screen.
About onboard screen, and you were talking about the numbers on top. I understand that, but what I was a little bit confused when you were talking about the symbols, is that at the bottom or is that with the numbers?
So yeah, it's going to depend. Now, what kind of iPad do you have, Bonnie? Which iPad is it?
I have a 9 iPad 9.
Okay, so yeah, in your case, you have a couple of options. If you are on the row of keys, that's QWERTYU, the very top row of letters.
Yeah.
And if you swipe up or down with one finger, you're going to hear numbers for each of those. The Q is 1, W is 2, E is 3, and so on. Your next row, that's a very pretty chime. I like that. Your next row is going to have some of the punctuation and symbols, like the A is the @ sign. The S, I think it said, was the $ sign or something like that. There are different ones there. I forget what they were, all of them. And then also your bottom row, like your ZX, CV, those are also going to have symbols. I think like Z is %, X is the dash or the hyphen. Now, if you cannot find on one of those letters what you're looking for, you still have that icon at the bottom left of your keyboard that VoiceOver calls numbers. And then once you go to numbers, you also have symbols. You have letters and symbols on the bottom left, so you can always choose one of those. And for our sighted folks, that's the 1, 2, 3 symbol. And then the other one is like a number sign and an equals and a something else symbol. There's like 3 punctuation symbols on the key. You still have that on an iPad, just like an iPhone. So you always can resort to that. It's just that you have an extra option that you don't always have to.
Okay. Okay. So I have a quick question about thread. So when you do threading, I followed you with that. Let's see here. So how do I get to have people on the thread?
So normally, unless you have explicitly disabled it it happens automatically when it needs to happen. Like, let's say that you and I are emailing back and forth, and you send me an email with a question. I respond to that with an answer, and then you email me and say, okay, yeah, but I have another question. So that, because it's using the same subject and just replies back and forth, it's automatically going to put those in a thread, unless, as I said, you've gone in and disabled threading under your mail settings, which some people do. But by default, it's going to make a thread whenever you have replies, especially multiple replies, but even, one to and one from kind of thing in the same subject. Thanks, everybody, for joining today, and we will see you either tomorrow or Wednesday.
Thanks for joining today's session. Didn't get your question answered? Want a free consultation or some paid one-on-one training? Email us at support@ttjtech.biz or support@stiritup.com. And remember, stir is spelled with a U. That's STURITUP.com. Or check out our websites for additional free resources. That's ttjtech.biz or stiritup.com. I'm Trainer Cliff. Thanks for joining us. God bless. See you next time.